It's the Real Estate Podcast, brought to you by ANZ Home Loans for financial well-beings.
And welcome back to another Real Estate Podcast, right around Australia, talking about your property news and information, of course, from the likes of the suburbs of Tenerife in Brisbane to the suburb of Toorak in Melbourne. And good morning to wherever you might be, either listening inside Australia or perhaps you're listening from another country. Of course, we love getting your emails, and you can send us an email of thought how you're tracking in 2025. The email address is myrealestatepodcast@gmail.com. And don't forget, we've got that voice message as well. If you leave a voice message, we will play your thoughts back on the Real Estate Breakfast. And it's a Thursday morning, October the 30th. Australia's property prices, now they're continuing to break records, with 32 new suburbs joining the $1 Million Club for the very first time. According to the latest Domain House Price Report, house prices in some areas have surged by up to $141,000 in just 3 months. Most of the new $1 Million suburbs are in New South Wales and Queensland, with Western Australia's East Victoria Park and Victoria's Curram also making the list. Brisbane's got some strong momentum as well. We should mention that. That continues to push more suburbs past that prestigious price point. So right now, let's go to Sydney and catch up with Domain's Chief of Research and Economics, Nicola Powell. And a very good morning to you, Nicola. Welcome back to the Real Estate Breakfast. Yeah, I just want to go back to that stat, House prices in some areas surging by up to $141,000 in just 3 months. Unbelievable.
It's a significant amount of money to add to a median house price in quite a short period of time. And look, Woody Point really just illustrates the momentum that we've seen in Brisbane's housing market. And I think that suburb in particular, there's lots of quality homes that have been renovated. There's lots of knockdown rebuilds occurring and development, which changes the price point quite dramatically. And I think, the ultimate, it is that family-friendly suburb, easy commute to the city, which I think attracts residents to the area. But there's other areas. So Highland Park in regional Queensland. We've got Crow's Nest in Sydney, which has joined the $1 Million Club. And Crow's Nest in Sydney, that's for units. So units have edged over $1 million in Crow's Nest. And then we've got in regional Queensland, Glasshouse Mountains, house prices. And then back to Brisbane, unit prices in New Farm have edged over $1 million over the recent quarter.
Now, I want to ask you whether or not you expect more suburbs to join the $1 Million Club, but I just want to come back to Woody Point. I don't know too much about Woody Point. In fact, I don't think we've ever done a suburb profile on Woody Point, so we'll have to do that. What sort of a suburb is that? Have you got the details just to quickly just go over what that's all about and why that's sort of tracking upwards so quickly?
Yeah, Woody Point, I mean, the name kind of really is illustrative of the type of suburb it is. It is coastal, it's a point. It's got the Woody Point jetty. There is a lot of development occurring in this area. There's beaches that are there, there's festivals. And as I mentioned, it is an easy commute into the city. So I think it's that balance between kind of lifestyle, coastal living and that commutability to Brisbane CBD. It's a family-friendly suburb. For anybody that knows this location, it's near Scarborough, Redcliffe, that area.
Okay, so let's continue down the list with Paddington and Tweed Heads, etc. But just coming back to, do you expect more suburbs to join the $1 Million Club? What do you think?
Look, I think we are going to continue to see that. We have in our latest house price report seen that Australia's housing market is seeing momentum being reignited. We have seen the market shift into a higher gear. And so our expectations is there's many suburbs almost bridging that $1 million. It's going to push more of them into that $1 million median. And look, we've got areas like Tweed Heads West in regional New South Wales. House prices have joined the $1 million club. We've got units in Paddington, so in Sydney's Paddington, and then back to kind of regional New South Wales, Adamstown, house prices. And then one in Perth, we've got East Victoria Park in Perth. Back to Sydney, we've got Springwood house prices have joined that $1 million club, and then Mount Lofty in regional Queensland. But then what's interesting, you've even got kind of outer locations of the outer area of Sydney. So Picton arguably could be described as a regional location, but house prices in Picton have now edged over that $1 million mark.
Yeah, interesting that we've got Queensland pretty much dominating with New South Wales. Yes, you've got the standout there in Western Australia. No Victorian suburbs on that latest $1 million suburb, which sort of comes back to the point of Brisbane, now the second most expensive city in Australia. And you just sort of look at that list to sort of see why it's tracking momentum-wise in that direction.
Brisbane has been on a super cycle. We continue to see prices rise. It is, for the first time on our records, the second most expensive property market in Australia, not only for house prices, but also for unit prices. And it gained the record for unit prices 12 months ago and has remained our second most expensive unit market. It's remarkable. It doesn't even feel that long ago where I was, witnessing an oversupply of units. I mean, you cannot say that for Brisbane now. It is a grossly undersupplied housing market, which is really coming out in price growth. I mean, we've got house prices and unit prices edging up another 4% in 3 months. And a 4% growth is an enormous amount of growth at a capital city level. 11 consecutive quarters of house price growth for Brisbane. That is the longest upswing we've seen for Brisbane in 21 years. Unit prices, 18 consecutive quarters of growth. Longest uninterrupted gains that we've seen on record for unit prices in Brisbane. These stats just highlight this super cycle that Brisbane's been on.
You talk about cycles. I was thinking about this the other day, and people will say, well, the real estate market, it goes up and down. It goes in cycles. Every 10 years, we're seeing something different. But this is something a little bit out of the norm, right? What we've been seeing since COVID, it is an anomaly. I think you can say that with just the way in which the figures are bouncing all over the place.
I would probably describe that for markets like Brisbane, Adelaide and Perth. I think that these three markets have just continued to grow, as you rightly said, since COVID. What I would say is we're starting to see a slowdown in the pace of price growth in markets like Adelaide and Perth. They're still rising, they're not rising as fast. I would say markets like Melbourne and Sydney, Sydney did have a bit of a pullback in price, so it kind of did go through that kind of property cycle. But property price cycles, they're an interesting one to watch unravel. Various things can spark a gear change or a shift, particularly changes to the cash rate. But I think we have to remember as well, Australia overall is an undersupplied market. We haven't built enough homes to meet population growth. That concept in itself continues to place pressure on prices, which continues to push them up.
We are talking to Nicola Powell all about real estate. We'll check on those median house prices. This is the Domain House Price Report for September last month. We'll do that after this.
Eager to expand your property expertise? Enhance your real estate know-how with us. Decode the property market with insider knowledge and insights to better navigate your real estate journey. Let's explore together the power of real estate.
And it is a Real Estate Thursday. We are talking real estate and median house prices with Nicola Powell. And you've got some information with regard to that list, kicking it off with Sydney, Melbourne and Brisbane.
Yeah, Sydney, Melbourne and Brisbane, we continue to see prices rise. I mean, Sydney house price now is at 1.75 million, up 3.4%. I would say Sydney and Melbourne house prices are up 2.2%. And you and I have spoken about Melbourne and its underperformance over recent years. I think what we've seen now is it's really kicked into an established recovery. So this is a marked change in conditions in Melbourne. And I think that we're expecting house prices in Melbourne to be fully recovered by the end of the year. So only $10,000 separates it from a new record high. And Brisbane, second most expensive, up 4%, continues to be the leader in terms of price growth over the quarter.
And as far as Perth is concerned, you've got some big news potentially with a prediction coming towards the end of the year.
So this is just highlights how remarkable Perth's housing market has been in recent times. What we've got is prices are rising. They're up another $15,000 over the September quarter, but we only have $19,000 separating it now to $1 million median house price. And what our predictions are is that Perth is going to edge over to being $1 million median house price by the end of this year, which is an extraordinary change in price point for Perth. Perth has always been seen as one of those more affordable capital cities. Really hard to describe it like that once it has $1 million median.
Yeah, for sure. And good morning if you are in Darwin. Should sort of mention them, Nicola, because Darwin has performed annual change 7.3%. It is a bit of a darling at the moment.
Darwin has been really performing. We've seen strong rates of house and unit price growth. I mean, they really did jump over the September quarter. And when you look at house prices, they are the highest price that we've seen in nearly a decade. So they're just over $650,000. Still below the 2013 peak, which was that mining boom peak in price, but it's edging close. It's only 3.2% away from being at a new record high. I think Darwin is an interesting one. I think that it's very transient in its nature in terms of population, lots of people relocating in and out. Investors have been looking towards Darwin too. So big boost in unit prices as well. They jumped 6.5% in 3 months, so up another almost $24,000 in September.
Yeah, so Darwin has definitely been progressing with plenty of appetite. And next Tuesday, before I let you go, RBA meeting. Now, everybody's watching this with a lot of interest. What is likely to happen? It is a 50-50. How are you calling this for next Tuesday from the RBA?
I find this discussion really interesting because, we know that we've seen a little bit of reacceleration of inflation on that monthly basis. So what the RBA are expecting is the quarterly read for inflation is going to be higher than what was anticipated. But the thing is, we always knew that inflation recovery was going to be uneven, just like consumer sentiment has been uneven. When you look at the beginning of October, there was a 50-50 chance to no change. 50% the market was pricing no change, 50% the market was pricing in a decrease. It's slightly started to change in recent days. So on the 24th of October, 33% no change, 67% for a decrease. I have been very firm on this, that I'm still, and I remain vigilant that it is going to be decreased. I'm in that camp that we're going to see a 25 basis point reduction. What we have seen is a cautious approach from the RBA. They have moved pretty much every 3 months and decreased the cash rate by 25 basis points every 3 months, which means that we will get a rate cut in November if my theory is correct. It's slow and steady from the RBA. I think that they'll decrease in their next board meeting, so next week. Then I think we're going to be into very much a holding pattern early next year of no rate changes.
Mortgage holders will be hoping your prediction is 100% correct. We'll wrap it up there. Nicola, thanks again for jumping on the Real Estate Breakfast this morning, and enjoy your Thursday.
Thank you very much.
If you're a new listener, welcome. We talk to the most knowledgeable real estate experts across Australia every day from 6 a.m. We connect you to the best real estate information across Australia. The Real Estate Podcast.